is 1.6 multiplying and dividing real numbers? We have a definition here. We're going to start with the definition, the idea of a reciprocal. A reciprocal is when you take any number, usually we write it at that number as a ratio or as a fraction. So even if it was a whole number like 5, we would write it as 5 over 1. And then you take that number and you flip it. Or you take the bottom of the fraction goes to the top, and the top goes to the bottom. And the reason we use reciprocals in multiplying and dividing real numbers is that any number multiplied by its reciprocal is 1. And so this is a type of canceling to get 1. We have, last time we talked about adding and subtracting real numbers. You can cancel to get 0 by adding the opposite to a number. For example, 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. Well, when it comes to fractions, you can cancel to get 1 by multiplying a fraction by its reciprocal. And we'll use that often in Algebra 1. So just a quick review on the properties of multiplying real numbers, multiplying or dividing. If you multiply two positive numbers, you end up with a positive. If you multiply two numbers that have different signs, you end up with a negative. And two negatives multiplied together give you a positive. So it's really just two categories. You'll see if the signs are the same and you're multiplying, you end up with a positive product. And if the signs are different, it's negative. Let's do a few examples using those properties. It says multiplying real numbers. What is each product? We have two integers being multiplied, 12 and negative 8. So that falls into the category of a positive and a negative, so we have different signs. So we're going to do the multiplication, 12 times 8. If you need to, you can write it vertically. Put a line underneath it, put the multiplication sign there. 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 96. Because the signs are different, that'll be a negative value. The second one, we have a integer times a decimal here. So we're going to take 24 and multiply it by 0.5 or 0.5 if you will. Write it vertically if that helps. 5 times 4 is 0, or is 20. 0, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. So we have 120 there. And you'll see that the decimal has been moved, has to be moved over one place to make that into an integer. And so therefore we need to move the decimal back one place here to right here, giving me 12.0. And you'll see that the two signs are both positive. They are the same signs, and so we get a positive 12.0. All right, the last one, we have two fractions being multiplied. You'll see that it's a negative and a negative. So we have a negative and a negative. That means that my product will be positive. First thing I look for when I'm multiplying fractions is if diagonally I can cancel. Is there any common factor between 3 and 2? There is not, so I can't do any simplifying there. What about between 4 and 1? There's nothing besides 1 that's common there. So we can't do any cross-canceling. It's helpful to do cross-canceling first and then multiply straight across. In this case, I can't do any cross-canceling, so I'm going to multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 2 is 8, and the sign, once again, is positive because we have a negative times a negative. Now, I thought I'd show you on the calculator how to multiply two real numbers together, especially the fractions. So on your calculator, I'll do this on mine, but I'll have to talk you through yours. So we're going to take negative 3/4. On mine, I can do negative and then 3 divided by 4. Now, on your calculator, you're going to hit the ABC button for the fraction bar instead of division. So negative 3 divided by 4. And then I'm going to multiply that by, mine I might want to, let's see here, multiply by, I don't remember what the other one was, negative 1/2. So we have negative 1 divided by 2. Once again, you will hit the ABC button on your calculator to do that. And it will give me a decimal value. And then if I want to change my decimal, I'm going to change it to a fraction. and you'll see that I get 3/8 as my answer. So you can use the calculator to multiply it. If you wanted to multiply, say, 24 times 0.5, just type in 24 times 0.5, and it will do that for you as well. With the negative number, the 12 times -8, I believe it was 12 times -8, you would type in 12, and then you can use parentheses and type it just as you see it there. So left parenthesis, use the negative sign instead of the minus sign, and the parentheses also say multiplication, so that gives you -96. All right. Simplifying square root expressions. What is a simplified form of the expression? You'll see that there's a negative sign out in front of the square root. Square root of 25 is 5. You may know that perfect square. So we just take the square root, which is 5, and then apply the negative sign. That can also be done on the calculator. Several of the problems in your classwork, you may not know the square root of the number, so you'll just go second, and then it's the x squared button. Right above the x squared, you'll see the square root symbol. That's because it is known as the inverse of squaring, and so it's located right above the x squared button. Some calculators may have a square root button that's separate from the x squared button. Type in the thing that you want to take, the number you want to take the square root of, and there it is, 5. So I have -5. This little symbol right here, it's called the plus or minus symbol. All that you do with that, it just means that there are two different answers here. We have a positive and a negative version of the square root of 4/49. And what we do is we take the square root of 4 and we take the square root of 49 as two separate square root problems. Either if you know the perfect square, perfect square of square root of 4 is 2, square root of 49 is 7. Otherwise, you could do it on your calculator, get the square root of each of those, and then leave it as a fraction. So you may use your calculator to do those if you don't know the perfect squares on those. All right. There is a word problem, an applied problem. We're going to use division on this, dividing real numbers to find an average rate of change. So skydiver's elevation changes by -3,600 feet. He's falling down out of the sky in 4 minutes after the parachute opens. So what is the elevation change each minute? So the parachute is open, he's still falling downwards, that's why it's -3,600 feet. What is the average rate of change in feet per minute? So we would do a division problem. -3,600 divided by 4. We have a negative divided by a positive, giving me a -900, and that is feet per minute. The way I would interpret that is he is falling at 900 feet per minute. Or he falls at 900 feet per minute. So there'll be a couple problems in there like that where you have to apply dividing or perhaps multiplying real numbers to a word problem. All right. Problem 4. We're dividing two fractions. As you move on in math, you might see fractions. This is called a complex fraction. Let's see what makes it complex. One fraction in the top and one fraction at the bottom. A complex fraction has a fraction either in the top or bottom of the fractions. That's what makes it complex. More likely, you will see it written like this: 3/4 divided by 2/3 with the division sign. So you'll see it in your classwork. But if you happen to see a complex fraction, you can rewrite it with a division sign. And what we do to divide fractions is we take and write the first fraction down and then multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. We look to see if we can cross-cancel at all. I don't see any cross-canceling that can be done. So I'm going to multiply straight across. I get 9/8. Because the signs are the same, it will remain positive.